We have a quorum.
Okay, perfect. All right.
And as I emailed you guys, I'll be jumping off here probably about 10 minutes. So to head down to the convention center.
Okay. Showing 3 o'clock, although my computer says 2:59 still, but I'm on Edinburgh time, so it must be in a different time zone. All right, we'll call the meeting to order. I think in the interest of time, we'll dispense with the Pledge of Allegiance. I don't think that will dampen anyone's patriotism today, so we'll move on to item B, and we'll let Ethan's welcome Ethan to the meeting. So we'll move on to item B, which is our consent agenda, which is to approve the agenda in its entirety, along with the September 9th meeting minutes. Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
And a
Second.
second. All right. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Perfect. Thank you. Next is citizens' comments. Are there any citizens to be heard? And I realize that because of the technology change, we might need to take a pause here just to make sure.
Yeah.
Is there anybody in council chambers that is participating? Do we know? Or
Cynthia's in there, I believe.
Nobody's here.
Nobody?
No, nobody's here.
Awesome.
Thank you, Cynthia. And just for sake, do we know who Kay Mulligan is?
That is Kyle. Kyle is the new Blight Project Manager for the Redevelopment Authority. So today is his first day, and he is listening in just to, experience a board meeting on his first day. So,
So we'll take a moment to welcome Kyle then. Welcome, Kyle. I think I made him nervous. Oh well. I do that to people.
he's still working on getting his technology all set up, I'm sure.
All right, thank you. All right, hearing no citizens to be heard, we move on to item C, which is our finance report. Aaron or
Hello.
April?
Yep. Can you hear me?
We
Yep.
can.
Okay. So in your packet, you have the profit and loss, the balance sheet, the check details, and the bank reconciliation. So it is showing on the profit and loss a total revenue of just under 3.8 million from January through the end of September. And our total expenditures are 3.98 million. So we are showing a negative net revenue or a loss of about $204,000 for the year. And that was accurate as of September 30th. But we were waiting for a large requisition from LHRD, which was over 200,000 deposited on the 8th of this month. So while that looks bad for the end of September, it's much better now. The balance sheet is showing that we have total bank accounts of a little over 4.5 million. And just the checks that were dispersed for the month of September is in the check details, and a copy of the bank rec that was completed for September on October 2nd.
A quick moment here, just any questions or comments for April? And let's see, we're 9 months through the year, right? Because we're on a calendar fiscal year. I always have to remind myself I'm on various boards and that changes. And projecting cash at the end of the year, April, any concerns looking forward?
No, so everything, our accounting is on an accrual method right now. So
Okay.
the profit that we had from the end of last year, as per the audited financials that we have, will carry over to the total profits that we have for the end of this year. So it's actually looking pretty good. Yeah.
Thank you. Hearing no questions or comments, is there a motion to accept the financial reports as presented?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay,
I
perfect.
forgot the motion.
Jeremy, you have to move faster on this around this crew here. So
I'm going in between mute and unmute.
yes, we understand. I know you're on dad duty today, so we appreciate that and appreciate, certainly understand. So all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. In our packets was the solicitor's report. I know that Mr. Sundberg could not be with us today. Aaron, did you want to highlight anything and draw to our attention? Anything that you think we should pay attention to?
I mean, I think the board's aware of 2708 Downing. We're still waiting on the 30-day period to elapse post the Board of View's determination on the property, and steps moving forward will rely on Attorney Sundberg's recommendations there. 901 West 4th Street, you have it as a resolution further down. That was a condemnation property that we have came to an agreement on to acquire and forego any further legal action on that. So the resolution helps us file the deed on that property. And then we've entered into a considerable amount of relinquishment agreements over the last month. One on Sass, one on West 3rd Street, along with another one on Walnut Street. So, that part of our condemnation process is working and it's being successful. We did do a final inspection on another property on East 5th Street a couple weeks ago. We rescinded the blight on it. So that was a successful relinquishment agreement that now we will work on revesting title. So all good things. And as we try to clear some of these and prepare for the next batch of acquisitions.
Yeah. All right. Any questions or observations for any of the board members? Hearing none, we will thank Mr. Sundberg. Thank you, and turn it over to Aaron for his general updates as Executive Director.
All right, I'll keep it short. I'm going to send the board out just an update later on, probably this week, in preparation for the board summit next week. But just got back from reclaiming vacant properties in St. Louis on Saturday. Great conference as usual. 2 years ago it was great in Chicago. This year it held up to the same standard. Learned quite a bit, a little bit of stuff that I can hopefully bring back and look at. One major thing that we're going to look at with the planning department from the city, another tool for our toolbox. So we're gonna work on that, and then hopefully have something for the board shortly, as soon as we determine this was a national United States national conference, and people from Canada as well. So presentations sometimes don't cross state lines, so we've got to check out the legality of things in the state of Pennsylvania versus Tennessee. I think one was from Missouri. So yeah, just some legwork to do to see if maybe we can take some best practices and bring them back to Erie.
Okay, great. Let's see. Did you want to comment on your ARP program report, which I think is next in our packet? Or is that
no, the housing rehab report? That's Holly.
Okay. I'm referring to the RACE ARPA program report, which goes on page 21.
Oh, okay. So this is the report that I put together when we had Director Perez from the White House Office of Intergovernmental Affairs. Kind of just walks through and highlights the major programs funded by the city of Erie through the American Rescue Plan Act. As far as the blight mitigation, as we talked, we're moving through that list of properties that we had filed condemnation on or acquired through other means. We're looking at the budget right now, trying to sort out some of those costs to see what we can potentially do with the rest of that remaining funds moving forward. Under the historic preservation, that $841,500, we were able to assist 45 property owners with historic improvements to their properties. There's still a little bit of funding left in there. We're waiting on recommendations from the Historic Review Commission on ways we can move forward now that they have the historic preservation plan. East Bayfront Greenway Initiative, which is what Kendra and I are going down to the convention center to speak on. LSSE is finishing up on the design of that. So we are hopefully have construction drawings, bid documents here by the end of the month. So all's going good there. The Looking Glass Art Project is working on collaborating at ECAT with some students and some immigrants and new Americans to design some art pieces for that initial phase of the trail. New production, we've started to enter into and sign the agreements and disperse funds to provide that out to those individuals that had applied and the board had approved for those 14 housing units. So that's moving forward. And the Healthy Homes program, you know, I think it's been extremely successful, and Holly and all the other inspectors are working through the backlog of those, and she can touch on that in her housing rehab report. So that's all I have for that. If there's any questions.
Yeah.
And if not, I'm gonna unfortunately have to leave, so Kendra and I can hopefully navigate traffic and get down to the convention center. So
Before you do leave, we do have a meeting with our sister organization, the Erie County Redevelopment Authority, on Thursday. It's my understanding that they're going to ask for an extension on their loan. Do you have any intel for us that we could be, as we review the documents, we could be reviewing them in context to what their ask might be, so we could be a little better prepared?
I have no official ask from the county RDA. I only have a off-site conversation with Tina in regards to the ask. So I can
Okay,
provide
I'll go ahead and do the ask. Just, you know, I'll copy you, Aaron. Let me take this off your shoulders then, and just ask him what we're talking, you know, what their eventual ask is going to be, so we could be prepared, because otherwise it could be a very long meeting.
Right. No, I agree. So
Okay.
I mean,
I'll take
Are they
certainly,
looking for action during that meeting, Aaron?
no, it's a status conference. We can't take action. So
Okay.
Yeah, and I just thought, you know, I believe the ask is going to be an extension, but I just don't know what else might be there, and what. So as we review documents, what we should be looking for in our documents.
absolutely. All right. Well, I thanks everyone for everything, and I'm going to jump off, and I've briefed April on anything else. If there's any other questions, just reach out to me and I'll let you know. Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. So item E, our next business item really is our meeting schedule, and maybe April can. We had requested to be meeting later in the day. 3 o'clock is difficult for many of us, so we've requested to move the meeting back to 4 if possible, knowing that we have to have an understanding about what technology might be available in case we had to move out of City Hall. And the reason why we're at a 3 o'clock on City Hall is because they like us to be done by 4 or so that the security people don't have to be paid overtime, as I understand it.
Right. So Aaron had said that the response from the city for additional security coverage is an extra $100 per hour. So if anything beyond 4:30, you can, I mean, we could do $50 increments per half hour. So if we had like a 4 to 5 meeting and we only had to pay an extra half an hour instead of a whole hour, but so we're looking at somewhere between $600 and $1,200 a year total for security coverage if we were to move the time.
That doesn't scare me.
Okay.
We can take it out of the Christmas party fund.
I guess
Oh, that's
April
right. We
doesn't
don't get a
scare you.
Christmas party.
Right. I'm sorry, what was that?
I guess, you know, it doesn't scare us, the board, but from a, controller of the funds for the redevelopment authority, is it of a concern to you to essentially know that we're going to be paying at least $50 a half
Right.
hour?
No, I mean, not necessarily. I just don't know if that's something that's approved as a reimbursable expense through any of the grants. So I would have to do a little more research on that. And that I'm not prepared on yet because I was just told that information a little bit ago. So yeah, I will look into that and get back to you.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'd say personally, even though it's not a ton, I would rather not have the redevelopment authority be on the hook, even if it's just for another couple hundred a year. Just in the spirit of being good stewards of taxpayer dollars, you know, they could, if the $600 or so could be put to better use elsewhere in the community, even though it is a tiny amount, I'd rather that than it kind of be at the convenience of the board members.
Right. I mean, and now this is kind of off what I was scripted to talk about, but does the hybrid Zoom work better, do you think, for the board if we didn't shift the time to 4 or 4:30? Is this easier for the board to be able to access via Zoom if they're not able to make it in person?
It is for me.
Yeah, 3 o'clock is also when apparently the police department changes shifts.
Ah,
So there's no parking. There is no parking at 3 o'clock, I can assure you. And I
I
made the
see.
joke about valet parking. I was not making a joke. It's the 3 o'clock spot is really tough. So maybe it's a 3:30 spot. So we're missing the police department shift because
Okay.
I was when I was at 4, I could always park in the lot behind the police department. There was, um, but I know that there's fewer public par lots there, or at least on the street, and I don't mind paying. It's just that when you can't find a parking spot, you can't find a parking spot.
Yeah.
So at minimum, maybe we go to a 3:30 instead of a 3 o'clock and see how that goes. Maybe that's so April, maybe you can carry that message back to Aaron, and maybe if you have a few minutes after our Thursday status call, we can confirm that. Any other
Sure.
members have thoughts on meeting time and location? Because I think that we need to have availability for technology so we can, involve public and or invite, board members who otherwise are traveling or have, you're in between, your billable hours. I understand all that. So, trying to keep everybody productive. No, I mean, hey, making money is a good thing, right? Let's let's do it.
Chuck, I enjoy the latter, giving room and availability for technology right now. Only because, yes, I'm a recipient of terrible parking downtown and have to walk a little bit. So, yeah.
So 3:30 would be an improvement, I think, because of the shift in police officers, because everybody's circling around Perry Square at that point. And not that I get nervous around police vehicles or anything, but no, just okay. All right, so we're going to recommend 3:30.
Okay.
April, if you could run that by Aaron to see if that works for the logistics and everything, we can maybe confirm on Thursday or whatever, or before our next meeting.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, so the next report in our packet was the rehabilitation report, which is on page 22 of 28. I'm not skilled enough to walk through April or Holly. Is this Holly's kingdom here or queendom or
Queendom.
purview?
Love that.
Queendom, absolutely. Hey, we'll
Yeah.
give everybody a good title. So yeah, we'll go with it. So Holly, it's all yours.
I would just like the other members of my office to note my new title. And also, Ethan, I think it's really rude that you have not yet introduced your coworker who's been making selective appearances.
All right, yeah, I mean, all my coworkers know her, but if she pops up again, that's my cat Meringue. She's the white cat that one of my clients jokes is a Siberian tiger because first time she made an appearance, she just walked straight across my screen. So all my clients think now she's like a 25-pound cat.
No.
She's not.
All right. Well, you already have the overall numbers in your packets. So I'll keep my cards as quick as I can. Not a whole lot of new movement with Healthy Homes, like the same thing as the last few months. We're just kind of waiting for some more projects to cycle through and those funds to get fully allocated before we spend those last few dollars in the spirit of A, not overspending, and B, it's nice to have that little bit of reserve in case we have a, lead job or something that needs to have, a roof or, something like that. So that stays at total of 138 projects that are approved. 117 of those are complete. Currently, average project cost is about $14,910, and we currently have about $230,000 remaining in that project fund.
Mm-hmm.
So that number probably will go up a little bit as these last few projects that are in process shaked out. But with that current remaining balance, let us do roughly 9 more projects at 24,999, or like 15 more at the average project cost. City wait list of 404, more continue to come in every day. That's that. County, we continue to move forward with Act 137 and whole home repair funds. We're probably going to be nearing our pause on whole home jobs here pretty soon, just because it's exterior work, and we're heading into the most wonderful time of eerie weather for the year. And so my big report really this month is about lead. So in our world, National Lead Poisoning Prevention Week starts October 20th through the 26th. So we've had several events and presentations and exhibits and things going on this month, kind of, getting people prepped to receive the messaging of that week. This is an annual thing. We do it every year if you weren't here for the last ones. And so, of course, the biggest part of our lead is the awarding of the new funds, which Aaron announced to you guys last week, but that's huge. It makes us an 8-ton grantee, and it's our biggest award to date. So that's really exciting for us. Gives us a little bit more enthusiasm going into this year's lead week. But we're nearly finished with the current lead grant. We've got, I think I only need 3 more approved applications to fill our last 2 spots, and then we can begin, the closeout process in the next few months for the current grant and get ready for the new one.
Well, I see that I'm not limited. We're limited to our reactions. I can't, there's no applause button or balloons or anything. So I can't, but congratulations to everybody involved in lead grants. We know how challenging just putting the applications together can be. So that's a big move. I also think that there may be tentatively scheduled that we're announcing at the mayor's press conference.
Yes.
And that's this Thursday, maybe?
Yes.
Okay. So tentatively, we're at the mayor's press conference at 10 o'clock on Thursday.
Yeah.
Yet to be confirmed.
Aaron and I are meeting tomorrow morning about that to sort of put some remarks together.
Yeah. And once it's available, I'd like to invite the full board so that we can come and support.
Excellent. That'd be great.
Yeah, we like to show up. I mean, it's sometimes it's good to have for cause for celebration. So if you'd be kind enough to send an invitation out to the full board, those of us who can, we'll try to make it then. Perfect.
And just a couple other good news, odds and ends for us. We are hosting our first training class in collaboration with ECAT for new potential contractors. It's the EPA RRP class, which is, without getting into the weeds, it's just the one day, like every contractor should have it. So it's hopefully the beginning of a really nice partnership with them for these training classes. So excited about that. That's Saturday. I had another event for the little mini grant that I have through the National Center for Healthy Housing for in-home daycare providers. That event was Friday. It was an incredibly touching success. We actually had a few of them cry. Gratitude. So that was great. And hopefully this is going to be kind of a launch point to some bigger projects with them, and really helping, give some dedicated support to that demographic. So those are all my big things for right now.
Okay, great. Any questions for Holly or any comments? Well, once again, congratulations for you, and I know there's many people who back you up. It's the full organization, so that's really good stuff.
Yeah, and Kendra and Tracy in particular, the amount of work they put on that grant is extraordinary, and also the other grant that I believe is getting submitted maybe tomorrow, which could also be a huge one, and it's very competitive. So good vibes are appreciated.
We'll say a prayer. Very good. So next on our agenda is a conduit sales agreement with the Erie Land Bank. And so that's pages 23, 24, 25, I think, of our packets. Is that right? And who's walking us through that one? April, is that you?
That's me. So Aaron had said that it's the redevelopment authority entering into an agreement with Erie Land Bank to acquire blighted properties off of the judicial tax sale. And this is essentially so that the land bank can acquire properties for or on behalf of the redevelopment authority. Just an intergovernmental agreement.
Okay. Just and this is, I have to get this in my head. So the Erie City Land Bank is a separate organization. However, it's managed by the Erie City Redevelopment Authority. So
Yes.
just in terms of transparency and disclosure, and I think there's, I did read through the agreements. I think we're good language, but from John Q. Public, in terms of making sure that it doesn't look like a too cozy of an agreement. You know how people like, I just, as we always have to be mindful of the appearance of self-dealing, and keeping land or something, an opportunity from a private contractor or something like that, crazy stuff. So I just wanted to make that point. I think we're okay, but as we're, thinking through that we serve, I mean, we're interrelated organizations that have to be thought through then. So, and Chris Croner is the chair of the land bank. So just kind of pointing that out to the rest of the board members. So we're acquiring then, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 properties.
There were 7, blighted properties that we were wanting to try to acquire.
Okay. And of these 7, do we do any idea if there's a plan for them or if it's just the authorities' rule to get them ready for a developer?
I don't have any specifics for certain addresses on what Aaron was planning or anticipating on doing with them. But normally we try to get the properties off of the judicial tax sale and keep them off of the judicial tax sale for the future. So.
Okay. All right. Any questions for April? Again, we're kind of punting here without Aaron available here, but I think I got it, but I want to make sure anybody else didn't have any observations or any questions.
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
The $8,300, that's a deposit that's, I guess, we're paying regardless.
Yes. So the judicial tax sale listing is usually from McDonald Illig, I believe, and each one is $1,118. Or no, I'm sorry, $1,188. So that covers whatever they are charging for their costs, and the paperwork and the courthouse and things like that for selling those, or listing them on the judicial tax sale. So each property that we were to apply for and acquire is $1,188. If we don't actually end up acquiring it, then we get that money refunded.
It does. It's not clear to me.
You're looking at paragraph 3 of the agreement, right?
Yes. Yeah. So if we had 7 property listings at $1,188 a piece, that would be the $8,316 total if we were to actually get all of them.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess the way I'm reading the agreement, I'm seeing up above in paragraph 1 that it's contingent upon the seller acquiring the property, but then you drop down to paragraph 3 and it says, regardless of whether the buyer ultimately acquires the subject property, buyer has provided a deposit to cover those costs. So to me, it looks like if the seller's unable to acquire, then we're still out, even if, I mean, it's not, I guess it's just not entirely clear to me.
Yeah, I do see that. So I do know in the past, usually I think around December is when we were going after these before. McDonald Illig had reimbursed us about a month later for properties that we hadn't acquired when there was a long list. So
Could we make it more explicit? Because I feel like they could be like, well, just because we did that before doesn't mean we're going to do it this time.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so they go through, I guess, April, your experience has been they go through this process because it's kind of odd to me because I do a lot of real estate work.
Correct.
So that the seller is pursuing, obviously the acquisition, they're going through attempting to resolve clear title. Since it is, kind of like our sister, daughter, child arrangement with the Erie Land Bank, I assume that we'll be able to review that information, like the title searches, to the extent that we, the redevelopment authority wants to review those to make sure, you know, there isn't any title issues, basically just to independently verify so we're not taking on some type of liability. And again, this is all like these are basically being pulled from the judicial sale so that it's just going to be outside of the judicial sale, or is it following the completion of the judicial sale?
I will have to get more clarification from Aaron on that.
Because I've seen it done both ways, and I've seen issues even after it goes through judicial sales where certain parties weren't noticed, and then it creates a cloud on title, and you have to go through a process even though it's a lien-free tax sale.
Okay.
In April, is there, I'm assuming there's a request to vote to approve the agreement but it sounds like we have some questions on the agreement. So can this wait to a future meeting or done?
So
I don't want to follow up,
It's-
because I know we're on a schedule, but
Right.
Tillman
no,
brings
I
up
mean,
some points.
yeah,
so.
it's probably going to have to if we have to change some of the wording on there. I do know that the resolution part of it that he was wanting was the acquisition of 901 West 4th Street. Because the deal is completed, the condemnation, or we've condemned the property. It was a condemned property. It has value. We entered a settlement for $40,000, but we can't record the deed without a resolution. So that's the portion that he was wanting the resolution today for, if you
Yes.
are in agreement to that.
So I think that on business item 3, the Erie Land Bank related sale, I think we're going to postpone that until for clarification. I don't know if we need to take a vote or anything like that, but it just doesn't. Whoever our parliamentarian is needs to advise me, but
It doesn't look like there's a resolution attached to it. Said not the parliamentarian.
Yeah, so item number 3, I just think we just continue on and take that as a business item and we're just providing input back and bring to the staff to bring back to us an agreement with those clarifying points then. Okay.
Sure.
So then I think we do move on to item number 4, which is the acquisition of 901, West 4th Street, which is a resolution attached. I'm going to give a little editorial. That used to be the Starlight Lounge, and was a terrible nuisance bar for many years. So I guess I'm showing the fact that I used to live around the corner on 6th Street. So I applaud the authority for moving ahead on maybe repurposing or putting what seems like a pretty decent structure possibly back into use, but anything but a nuisance bar, please. So, and it is it's a decent storefront with some apartments above it, I think. So it could be a nice mixed use for something, perhaps a creative space, and would be great, in that area then. But and that ends my editorial. So so April, is there anything that you need to point out on this? Seems straightforward. And Jeremy, if you have any thoughts, because I know this is a little more your area than it has been mine. I've not been practicing real estate in a while. So.
That's okay. Yeah, so I'm assuming based on Gene's report that he went through the title. I mean, I haven't gone through the title, but I assume that he's gone through the title based on what he's saying. And it's going to be a deed in lieu of condemnation. So it's not going to go through won't be going through the condemnation process proper. So, when you go through a condemnation action, that's where the liens get divested and basically attached to the condemnation proceeds. So we're not having that, which isn't, having gone through this process before, every once in a while you'll find a unicorn like this where there's no liens or anything else attached to it. So it's quite possible, and I'm assuming just based on all that Gene's reporting, that there's no liens that we're going to be acquiring this property subject to. So yeah, based on that, I think that I guess I don't have any issues or concerns.
Yeah. All right. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as presented?
So moved, Chuck.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Jeremy, thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right. The resolution has been accepted with 4 positive votes. All right. That concludes unfinished business. Is there any other business from the board? Anything the staff wants to draw to our attention?
I do. So this was just back as part of the finance report, the financial consultant and Blackbot update.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Yeah. So just from the last board meeting, we have the data configuration finalized. Our database has been created and they gave us a test environment. So Corey and I have been in there just starting last week to play around in there and do a list basically of different tests that we have to do to check out all of the features, make sure everything is working properly. We were supposed to be, Baker Tilly had advised us to try to go live for December 1st. However, they have a staffing shortage with the third-party vendor that's doing the implementation, and they are requesting January 1st. So our go live date per their staffing issues and request is January 1st. So that gives us a little bit of extra time for testing and tweaking if there's anything wrong with it, but so far it looks pretty good.
And January 1st is the beginning of our fiscal year, right?
Yes, that would be a very smooth transition. And Baker Tilly did recommend that even if we were to go live December 1st in Blackbot, to basically do double entry in QuickBooks and Blackbot, so that all of 2024 is in QuickBooks, so that would be easier for the audit. And then, but either way, it seems like it's going to work out.
Okay. And you're moving to Blackbaud's Financial Edge NXT, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Which is, my office will be moving there next February. So you just want to come in and do our implementation?
There's a lot of training.
Yeah. So we're at financial. We're Financial Ed 7, which is the it's the desktop version of it. So we'll go to the cloud with NXT, and I think that's just looks good. Ethan, did you have any comments or concerns? That this is really your area of expertise, and
I do not. I think the January 1st go live date makes sense. Hopefully there's no major hiccups. Because obviously having that 1 month buffer would be nice to kind of work out all those kinks, but at the same time, I agree it's kind of best to not do double entry if you can prevent it. Just kind of stinks that it is more out of our hands than not.
Okay. Yeah. All right, good. Well, thank you. So from my perspective, announcements are, again, looks like we have potentially a press conference. Was that 17th or the 24th? Well, we'll learn about the press conference for the lead-based paint grant from Holly when she's got that confirmed.
It looks like it's on Aaron's calendar for the 17th at 10.
Okay. So,
Sorry, I couldn't get unmuted. Yes, it's this Thursday.
okay.
So, which is great because it's ahead of National Lead Poisoning Prevention Week, which starts on Sunday. So it's the perfect time to announce it is on Thursday.
Okay. All right. So if you'd send a courtesy invitation to the board, that would be slick. And then I will reach out to Tina and Leah at the Erie County Redevelopment Authority to just to figure out what they can give us some additional background so we're not hearing it for the first time on Thursday. I think that would be helpful. So, and we're friends enough that I can ask that without any problems. So, all right. Is there any business? Any announcements?
Sorry, just to confirm the Erie County Redevelopment Authority meeting, what time is that again?
I'm showing it as a status conference at 11 o'clock.
Okay. I heard 10, but I think that was for something else. So I just wanted to make sure that I didn't have the wrong time on my calendar. So
11 o'clock, and I think I'm assuming
10 would be the press conference.
Press conference. Okay.
Right.
So we could be lots of places. And then Cynthia will send us a Zoom link for the 11 o'clock status meeting. Then it's when that gets made available. Then okay. Well, very good. I don't have anything else. And if there's nothing else, we stand adjourned at 3:40. Appreciate everyone's time and attention today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.